Well, we are, of course, talking a lot with people in Lismore a year on from those devastating floods. For some, they're still picking up the pieces, hoping they'll be able to rebuild their lives. But there is some positivity within the town where possible as well. Joining me live is Lismore vintage shop owner Adam Bailey. Thanks very much for your time. You are opening a new vintage store in Lismore this weekend after your old one, of course, went underwater in the floods last year. So have a free spruik. Why should people get on down?
Look, end of the day, we've come a long way, Lismore, in the last year. As you know, this is 1 year today. We got flooded actually the night before. So this time last year, we were flooded at 7:55. I had water in the shop. We were a little bit lower. So I've just purchased myself a new building in the CBD and giving it another go. So now it's my building, and we're excited to reopen this Saturday and see Lismore thrive again.
Well, good on you. It's always a plunge, and you're doing so after a lot of difficulty. What can people get if they're maybe thinking of heading to Lismore this weekend, or for locals watching? What do you specialise in there?
We've got everything. We've got antiques, collectibles, vintage. We've got quite a plethora of different things. We are a little bit different than any other antique or vintage store you've ever been to. You know, we've got some very rare pieces. We've got stuff from Warner Brothers Movie World. I've even got a camel with pink stilettos you can come and have a look at. So we are a little bit different. So there's plenty to come and have a look at.
It sounds like it. It sounds like the sort of shop that you might not know you need it until you walk inside. So there you go. Get down there if you're in the area. Your shop was also your home. You had 18 days to move out of yours. Tell us about what happened to the flooding situation for you a year ago and the immediate aftermath.
Well, the place I was actually living up in the high area, and the people actually sold their house in between the flooding, gave me 18 days to move out because they wanted to move into their new house that I was living in. And so due to the fact that there's nowhere to rent, there's nowhere to live, I ended up living in the back of the shop on a lounge for 9 months with my dog. So things have been very, very hard. And again, I didn't lose my house, but I lost my house in a way where I had to move out.
Yeah, you didn't suffer that house being flooded, but you were also effectively homeless, which so many in the town have been. How is the town going? And I know you've been concerned at whether or not the town and the surrounding regions will shrink as a result. People won't bother. Are you seeing that much? Have many people given up, whether it be insurance delays or, you know, the trauma of rebuilding where they were before? What's the net effect been?
It's a mixed thing out there, and there is so much. There's so many people that, you know, as soon as it rains, you can see them just cowering because they don't want this to happen again, and that's the reason why a lot of people are moving. My thoughts on the buyback is, you know, there are people that just will not blow to Hackett, but we're spending $700 million on buying people out and getting to move out of the town where we want the town to live and support and, you know, start rebuilding, where we could spend $700 million on trying to fix the problems up. Australia spends billions and billions of dollars every year on natural disasters, and we're still having those natural disasters in the same spot. We're not fixing issues up. We're not fixing the fires, and we're not fixing floods. We can move the river. We can dam and have holding bays with water, but we just don't look at that. Instead, we're going to spend all this money on getting people moved. Now, there are people that don't want to move, but they don't have the money to rebuild. So, you know, I just don't understand what all this money to get rid of people out of a town, which the town was a thriving town.
So, yeah, improve that. It might be the dam. It might be, I suppose, building back better, even if you're talking about sort of Queenslander-style homes there. And I suppose the other thing with buybacks is at least anyone that can't, you know, rebuild right on that property, if it's not a residential one, being in the region, being nearby, is there enough of that being looked at that it might be at least people staying in the region?
Well, it's quite funny you mentioned that. We have a plateau that was put on hold by the Greenies, saying that there was endangered frogs and things like that, you know, and so that was put on hold. Now, if that had gone ahead, I think we wouldn't have lost as many houses, or we could still go ahead and put those houses up there where we're not losing people from our town, We're just relocating them up higher. So there's plenty of opportunities around the area to rebuild and use some of the land that we do have here. But everybody's getting stopped because we're worried about frogs or we're worried about something else that, you know, but at the end of the day, we're humans and we need to live as well. And those frogs are only there because of the last flood put them there.
Adam, all the best for your town. That people do have the confidence to rebuild, whether it's there, nearby and so on, and your shop as well, and the big reopening. We hope it goes really well if you're in the area. We know we have a lot of viewers out there on Sky News Regional, so if you're in the area, head to Adam's Vintage Shop, the big reopening in Lismore. Adam Bailey, thanks very much, mate.